Hey everybody, really excited to talk through the music of Root of Nightmares. What an awesome raid. We did our best to keep damage phases as long as possible, but of course, some things ebb and flow. So I'm really excited to present this to you. Here we go. Oh, and I should say, thank you so much to this group of raiders for guiding me through this raid. It was really fun. So if you'd like to join in on raids, feel free to check out the Discord. We have a Destiny Discord, and you can definitely come and hang out. All right, let's get started. So isn't that amazing? We start right away with Nezarek's laughter, right? And not only that, but we start off with that's Nezarek's menace and the way that he causes us to feel distress. After all, when you look at the lore of this, we've sort of fallen right into the hands of Nezarek, into reviving him. And we feel that right away, actually, in this preamble music as we start this raid. And also, what a beautiful aesthetic with this color palette of that shot that the Traveler makes. Naturally, we have the darkness theme here. What I like about this is that it actually, in the drums, we really feel Nezarek's size already. And also I think we feel the damage that's been done, because if you think about it, timeline-wise, this occurred as the Witness immediately showed up. And so the Traveler did that blast and it cut through this ship. It's interesting because we've heard this darkness theme many times now at this point. And there's something really powerful about having it be pared down without any real synthetic sound quality. There's no synth, there's no nothing. It's just those low strings. And I think that that's also something really worth mentioning, is that the use of strings and the lower strings especially is what aids in helping us to feel this kind of discomfort, and you have those drums, bum, 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 bum. Like, this should be a moment where the Traveler actually was helping, and of course we saw what that outcome was and causing the veil and everything else, but it's a really intense intro, and it almost makes you feel like, wow, this is dangerous. There is a concern in this music and a feeling of great fear almost, that we're entering something that we may not be able to get out of. Especially when you consider the fact that the Traveler, being such a strong, omnipotent being, should have done more, maybe. It's a really interesting idea here, musically. Do you notice the horror elements in the strings, too? There's that string... That's like quintessential horror music writing, especially in strings. And it causes us to feel slightly on edge, like the hair sticks up on the back of our necks. And that's where we're getting into this idea of terror and fear and horror. And it's interesting because we haven't heard that in other raids, I would say. This is definitely one of the more terrifying musical elements that we've heard in a raid. But then what's really cool is that as we move forward, we hear the Lightfall motive, and we hear that the bum 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 bum. So there we have a shift. We arrive with fear and concern. As we continue to progress, even right off the bat, right off of these first couple steps down this stairwell, we get that Lightfall motive, which I think in this case is a tool of galvanization for us to be, remind ourselves that no, we're guardians. We can take care of this. We can handle this. Oh, nice and slow too. Love that brass. Again, there's that fear again. And so it's really a dance of both courageous optimism and courageous strength, and also the fear that comes along with fighting something like Nezarec. We never really lose sight of that low string usage. And I think including that in here as a continual thing reminds us of the high stakes that we have to deal with, knowing full well what's to come. It's all foreboding, foreshadowing music, and also based on where we are location-wise in this witness pyramid, and in the witnesses pyramid, no less. So that's something worth noting too. Notice how in that moment the strings swell. Ooh, gets louder, 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 louder. And now we just have stillness. Now we have a solo low string with a long bow, and it fades out. And I find that repeated pattern, repeating that pattern over and over and over again is all setting up for us to feel uncomfortable and for us to be afraid. That is the thing that is most present throughout this opening section of this raid, is the idea that fear is a real and ever-present feeling for these guardians that have gone into here to fight Nezarec and to stop this root of nightmares. Given the tormentors that are images of Nezarec, in a lot of ways Nezarec has this sort of deific power. And if you look at the lore and how long it's taken for Nezarec to become revitalized, and the drinking Nezarec tea and all this other stuff, like, it makes sense that this is all like a ploy actually for us to resurrect Nezarec and return him to his master's side, so to speak. And obviously that's loose lore, but that's just that idea of why we are continuing to have this tense and fearful music throughout this opening section, and really throughout the raid in its entirety. There's never really a moment in this raid where you're like, nice. You know, there are moments when fighting Nezarec where we feel that typical guardian enthusiasm, but in general, this is a pretty dialed back on the optimism and more dialed up on the fear and worry. That's a really fun musical phrase too if you listen in the horns. Ba 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 ba. First we started with just the strings. Now we're layering. This is typical Bungie fashion where we start with one thing and we layer, then we layer, then we layer, then we layer. And by the end of it, we have a thing of like 30 different layers vertically that is this incredible sonoral column of music. Now we have these drums. I think these drums represent a sort of like holding pattern. I think the drums represent this moment where we have this stillness, where we're just trying to get this done. And so it's not like an action phase in, say, Rolk, where the drums are emphasizing or elevating the emotional intensity per se. I actually think that in this case, these drums, the snare drum in particular, is actually there because we are doing what has to be done. There's almost a duty idea behind this, where it's like, okay, well, we have to get this done so we can move on to the next thing. And so, you know what I mean? I really like that klaxon. Wow, wow. Do you hear how pronounced that Witness theme is? How heavy? I think that is a reflection on the Witness. Of course, that is the Witness's theme, essentially, but also, or in the Darkness theme, I should say, but also there is violence in there with that lower brass. And that music is emphasized doubly so with the use of the boom, that heavy use of that brass. And it's really powerful, and it really, I think, strikes a chord in the emotional center of us as players, where we feel like, holy crap, this is like a big deal, you know? Oh, I love this. That's building tension. That's building a speed up. That's building to something. That causes us, oh my God, we have to hurry up. We have to get this done. We have to get this done. It's interesting that just a simple musical gesture like that causes this feeling of like, oh shit, we gotta go. We gotta go. And those horns, it's like they're procking. And you hear the tension right there? We're building to something. The repeated patterns like this cause a feeling of distress and discomfort. It makes us feel like we're constantly moving forward, constantly on the edge of our seats, constantly in a situation that's life or death. And so the stakes are obviously insanely high, and they need to be very high. And I've mentioned this in a ton of other videos if you have seen these or haven't seen them. Stakes need to be high for us as players and also as an audience member when it comes to film, TV, plays, operas, whatever. Things have to feel intense in order for us to be connected and believe in the legitimacy of them emotionally. And so even something simple like this, that creates this feeling of integrity in what's occurring on the screen so that we can buy into it from an emotional perspective. Even simple gestures like string patterns like this that repeat and repeat and repeat, those are intended to cause us a feeling of concern and fear, which will then let us buy into it emotionally as we're playing, to want to continue the fight. And there's that Lightfall theme, of course. And then integrated with the Guardian theme. But there's something about that being done in the French horns, I believe, that causes such a feeling of triumph and a feeling of like virility and like, yes, I can. And it always is intended to be that way, right? Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can. I will do this. But there is something so wonderful about hearing it in this lower brass section and then playing off of the Lightfall theme, which I thought originally was representing Neomuna only, but in actuality is a fantastic galvanization theme for the Guardians. And so to have those two in sync is really, really lovely, and it's really empowering stuff. And then, of course, we have the Cabal theme in there too, which in this new format, it's all just like this beautiful marriage of all these themes that we understand and know because of the way that Bungie writes, that we repeat motives a lot. It's incredible how seamlessly they're just dropped into these tracks, and it's so effective. And then you hear in this one, you hear that Lightfall theme again in the trombones. And now it's really this feeling like we're against the clock here and we got to keep moving. Now there's a lot more intensity there. It's almost like the Lightfall theme is being submerged by the darkness. And And it's a really solid, real ending for that theme too. Which again, I think that there was so much moving and happening at one moment there that causes stress and discomfort. What a really, really, really great first encounter track there. So as we enter into this hallway, first of all, where are the bathrooms? And note that as we go further and further deep, that's an interesting darkness theme there. Haven't heard that with chorus in a while, or ever. Lightfall theme. Timpani. What a fantastic little theme there. I mean, that's like 30 seconds, not even. And yet that is a very, 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 very well produced sound. You have chorus, men's chorus in there. You have trombone, timpani, and you're creating this feeling of like moving deeper into this pyramid, and it's fantastic. Of course, what's a raid without some trickery? And my raid team suggested I do this, which I did. And I landed right on top of an honored phalanx. I like this track because it feels like a ticking clock, especially in the rhythm. There's a lot of really good music in here, so I'm trying to skip to the appropriate moments. Otherwise, this will be a 3-hour-long video. There we have this subtle Cabal theme, but it's also accompanied by this sort of mystical mystery. Only for then the Cabal theme to take over. So it's this like merging of the Cabal with this mystery and wonderment. That's really interesting. Something really interesting in this section is, of course, this feeling of discomfort. Strings, tension, otherworldly music. There's both mystery and discomfort in there, which is really interesting. And this music doesn't stop. In fact, in this second encounter, it gets even more intense. So I love this because it's actually doubly more intense than the first encounter music, and it's actually even more intense because can you guess why that makes you feel the way you feel? There's a technique that the lower strings will do where the bass strings will sort of tap the edge of the string, and that creates this boom, boom sound quality. And again, this forward propulsion in the rhythm invariably causes discomfort, and it causes this feeling of urgency. And that's the case when you think about the fact that in 1 minute and 39 seconds, there's that imminent expulsion. And then we, as you understand later on, if you fail and wipe here, the walls close in on you and you're left with, falling to your death. So there is this like feeling of like, we gotta get this done now. And that's this whole back and forth with those runners. It causes that feeling of tension as everyone's trying to do this ad clear. And the runners are kind of like, oh God, oh, jump, black. Okay, I almost got mine. You almost got yours. White. Yes. Okay. Darkness, light. Yeah. And so that's really what's at play here. I like that weird animalistic sound there. You hear it in the background? It gives it this otherworldly feel to it. Now, I don't know if they've been doing this in other raids or previous raids, but both in this and Vow of the Disciple, there's a real heavy lean on singular percussion, guiding the moments in between major melodic sections. I really, really dig that. And I dig it here. You hear that? That's delicious. Then we launch into the second phase. second floor. You hear the tension here? It feels like we have a new Cabal theme emerging out of that. Ba, 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 ba. It actually feels like it borrows from the Cabal theme, but it actually absolutely isn't. It's its own identity. Musically, there is such intense forward propulsion here because we're on a timer, because we're running out. And as we go further and further up this, this section of wall, there's more and more intensity each time because there has to be, because we're running out of time. And the closer we get to the end, the more nerve-wracking it is because this could all end. Do you hear how even something so simple as that causes an immense feeling of stress because it doesn't resolve naturally. It's not like, oh, the Lightfall theme. It's like, oh, the Lightfall theme. Oh my God. All right, well, we got to keep moving. Like, there is this inevitable feeling of fear in there that is supposed to cause us concern. Now, that's a broken record at this point. I've mentioned it since the very beginning of this video, but it's nice to spot those little moments that it happens where the composers and the composition team is tricking you into realizing and feeling fear and worry. And that's another cool bit. No. Tension. Cabal theme. Just a little glimpse of that Guardian theme, but and we fade out. Lots of syncopated rhythm in here too. Tension in the strings here. Listen to that. You hear the absolute fear. Gotta keep moving, baby. This is terrifying. Now the stakes are on. Now we're almost done. And if it goes badly now, we gotta do this whole thing over again. So now listen to the way the music is shifted. Hear that in the strings? Give me your darkness theme. Still the same theme, but with layers on top of it. I love this Cabal theme because it's faster than normal and it has just a little bit of variation in it, which makes it almost like a variation on its own theme. That's so beautiful. Yada, yada, da, like we won't give up, please. And actually the Lightfall theme is such a different experience from the Guardian theme because the Lightfall theme really symbolizes hope and possibility. And the Guardian theme is, the theme of like power and being unstoppable and being brave. And I like that the two meld together actually a lot. This is a really interesting track to me because it's desperate and it's full of despair and sadness and loss. And it feels like a dirge or a funeral hymn. It's very, very sad.
I can hear the shifting roots across the pyramid's architecture.
Listen to those strings.
The paracausality on my tongue.
Like there's nothing we can do. The choir singing. We're bringing Nezarec back whether we want to or not. we're stuck in a system. And there's the Cabal theme again, but rhythmic and different. Tension. Nezarek's power is growing here. And this music showcases that. This third phase encounter here with Zo'alk, Explicator of Planets, really does have this heartbeat idea really in full blast. This below the surface momentum and tempo and metronome almost. Though I will say that Zo'alk isn't exactly super threatening per se. But musically, it's always interesting. It's just maybe not the most unique music. Again, we hear the weight of that Cabal nature in there with those drums. Dum, bum, 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 bum. When we move into damage phase, we get a whole new set of music here that is actually awesome. It's like strangely sad, right? It's like a bad discovery of something. And of course, tension in the strings there. Lightfall. Traveler theme, Lightfall theme. Tension strings. So it's an amazing thing that the Destiny crew can do here, in that is combining these themes and creating melody around motives, which never really gets old to me. I certainly don't think it's a bad thing to be reliant on motives, and especially when they're so recognizable and so good here. They do tell a story. It's beautiful, it's effective, and it's evocative, and it does cause a feeling of concern and worry, and also all these other different ranges of emotions when put in specific contexts. So now as we approach Nezarec, this is really interesting. Here we go. Nezarec in all his glory, we come in swinging, holding this giant ass, looks like darkness hammer. This is incredibly intense. After all, this is onirophobia, and the fear of dreams, if I recall. And you really feel Nezarec has been waiting for this moment for quite some time, and he's ready to come out and play he shall. Listen to that darkness theme ripping. Listen to these like taiko drums ripping in the back. Rolk. There's quite the difference between Nezarec and Rolk, and you hear that even in this action sequence, where we have these taiko drums that are smacking and slamming into each other. It's very different from Rolk, who felt much more composed, much more focused on himself, much more egotistical. I think because Rolk is like, well, I'm the oldest of all the civilization, and nothing has ever stopped me. Why should you? Whereas Nezarec finally feels like, I'm free. Let me have what I want. You know, and Nezarec will stop at nothing at this point. He has nothing to lose. He is the final god of pain, and he will let you know that. And so there's a big difference here in this action sequence, in this action phase where we're hearing this drum. These drums are voracious, tenacious, unruly, and violent in the way that they're played and in their nature inherently. And so there is such an intensity in this that is really, really satisfying, and it also makes you feel afraid, and that's really powerful, especially when you compare those to Rolk. But also right there, you also hear that boom, ba-dum, boom, ba, boom, 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 ba. That is a really intense rhythm that really, really, really sits in the spirit and causes discomfort. Then we move into boss damage phase. And look at the brutality in Nezarec. Full chorus singing that Lightball theme. I mean, per usual, it's amazing to see how layered these tracks become, especially these boss phase tracks. But that fight sequence, that DPS damage phase, is unreal. You've got the choir singing the and you've got Laura singing that solo that we know. It really does feel like this is it. We have to give it our all. We must defeat Nezarec. And then you also feel Nezarec's blind rage here, even more so than you did in the first section of this. This is such an intensely motivated fight. This is not just like music that's there because it's intense. No. This is the internal world of Nezarec. This is the brutality of Nezarec. This is the intensity of Nezarec's desire. And you really, really, really hear that. But you notice it right there, actually. That's like a great spot to point it out. Like, that's intense. That's intense. And to have vocals there is really, really impactful and really, really powerful. You also get a sense of, like, even though Nezarec is quite large physically, he's a very imposing figure, there is this like brutally nimble nature to him that exists within this music and is extrapolated from this music that's very intense. And not to keep stopping, but also there, that darkness theme is much, much more potent and virile, more so than we've ever heard it before. That's like Nezarec embodies the darkness theme in this moment. I love this. It's crazy how even changing one note it makes it sound so much more desperate than when it resolves. This rock darkness theme here. Here we go, third phase. Listen to those drums, oh my god. Listen to the strings. Ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. Ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. That Guardian theme in the background there. Kind of light though. Now we move into final stand phase. Da, da, da. Even the way it ends, it almost feels like Nezarec doesn't want this to be the end. In fact, he even says, "My memory will never extinguish, and your calmest moments, your deepest slumber, you will remember me, Guardian."
Your calmest moments, your deepest slumber. You will remember me, Guardian.
And so even though it ends, it doesn't really feel like it's ended. And to be fair, this ending continues. I have noticed that these raids are much, much darker, much more evocative visually, and much more intense than those that have come before. And I'm very curious to see where we go from here. As always, if you like this sort of stuff, feel free to like, subscribe. There's links in the About section if you want to support the channel. Thanks for watching this Destiny content. I've really been enjoying it. Really been enjoying it. And as always, thanks a ton, and I'll see you later.